The Democratic and Republican parties. What does the sage have to say? So here I am back on the couch. I think I'm sort of getting used to it. So about a week ago, I got this inspiration or this impulse to really understand first of all, how did the Democratic and Republican parties form? And I don't mean politically, like what is their political leanings, their belief systems, but how did they form? Just how did they form? And what types of people, why would you be aligned with a particular group? Like, how do you resonate? So I decided to do an inquiry with the sage to see if he could share with me what hexagrams or gene keys could describe the differences between the parties. And I got great, as usual, to the point, perfect gene keys to describe the particular differences between the parties. So I asked 3 questions. This is part 1. And the 3 questions that I asked were, and speaking as the parties as like individuals. So the first question, which is being addressed here in this video, is what is the overall theme or personality or underlying energetic essence that formed the basis of these parties? So I don't know if you would call that the personality, but what energy or gene key was the catalyst that formed these parties, Democratic and Republican parties, and what might draw people to these particular parties? Okay, so let's start off, and as the sage indicates in both of these, in the 2 gene keys, it's all about the fears. It's always about the fear. What particular fear was the catalyst for each party that formed them and was the basis for their structure of belief? Okay, so let's start with the Democratic Party. Get my notes here. Remember, the notes are so small. I'm not used to working on a laptop, so forgive me. And I'm probably going to say a couple more ums, which, oh God, that killed me listening to that other video. Okay, Democratic Party, their life view or the energy that drew this party together was the energy of the 48th gene key or hexagram. Now this hexagram is called the well. And the well represents all of the cosmic principles. It's all about going within to connect with your inner truth, your inner sage, your wisdom, nourishment, all the energy that you could, energy and nourishment and truth that you could ever want can be found within in the well, the belly. Okay. And what I sensed was, and the sage indicated, is that the Democratic Party wishes, that's its mission, to be the well to society, to be the resource to people. So, what is the underlying fear of the Democratic Party? Like, what brought this party together? So for the 48th gene key, it's the fear of inadequacy. And it is a person or a group that feels inherently inadequate to meet the challenges of life as an individual. Like, I don't have the resources to cope with life itself. And the underlying basis of the 48th gene key in general is all about community and service and resources to the community. So this is perfect. To alleviate the sense, this fear of I am inadequate to face life head on, I am going to create a party that is group oriented, social oriented, that provides resources to others. And we can all face these challenges together. Okay, doesn't that make perfect sense? And it so resonates with at least my understanding of the Democratic Party. And so how the Democratic shadow comes, this shadow of, I can't even talk, this shadow of inadequacy expresses itself, or how they try to alleviate this. Yes, they form groups. They want to be community oriented, helping others, providing resources so that they feel safe and together. But it also causes the party or the individuals in the party to alleviate this fear through seeking knowledge and education. It's a mental reaction. And I think it's well known. There's been plenty of studies that indicate, in general, people who are aligned with the Democratic Party and principles are more highly educated beyond the college level. So you can see this on some of the news commentators. Like the first person that came to mind was Rachel Maddow. She's highly educated and uses that education. And it talks about in this Gene Key that the shadowy aspect of gaining knowledge and education to alleviate fear is that the Democratic Party can be unscrupulous, I can't even say that word, unscrupulous in their use of their knowledge and information to manipulate the fears of others. And absolutely, you can see that all the time on all the news, the MSNBCs, they're always using education, knowledge, information, and it's all fear-based, right? Because they want the people to come with them so that they can help them. And another shadowy aspect, like the repressive side, is that the Democratic Party, where is my note here, can be bland with no real vision. I mean, that sums up the party right now completely. Anyway, so this is how the Democratic Party formed, through this underlying fear of inadequacy as an individual to face life head on. And because this Gene Key called The Well is about resources and sharing of resources, the Democratic Party mentality is about, let's be a community, provide resources to help alleviate this fear. We are going to attract highly educated people, maybe hoity-toity types, but that's just a fear reaction, to help alleviate this fear of inadequacy. But at the gift level, right, this turns into community-based service, providing resources, and it's the gift of resourcefulness, which is brilliant, because the Gene Key's gift of resourcefulness talks about this party, the Democratic Party, has the greatest ability to bring free energy into the world. Because remember, the well is all about going within and tuning into that, your own inner energy source. So it means, so that comes out in an external way of free energy for all people. And it's brilliant. I mean, like, isn't this perfect? The sage picked the perfect Gene Key to represent the Democratic Party. Okay, so let's move on to the Republican Party. Okay, so the Republican Party formed, or Life's Perspective, is gene key 28 or hexagram 28. And it's called Preponderance of the Great. The ridge pole sags to its breaking point. Now, this gene key slash hexagram, this ridge pole sagging to breaking point indicates, as the gene key talks about, that this gene key holds the deepest, darkest fear of all the gene keys. It houses all the demonic archetypes, right? And where do these demonic archetypes come from? It comes from the fear of death. So the Republican Party formed out of the individual being so afraid of death, fear of death. And it creates these huge archetypal energies of the individual. Oh, there's an It's a good because I'm going to find my next note here. So this theme of fear of death, the kind of shadowy aspect and the structure, the kind of belief system at the shadowy level is, every man for himself. It's a dog-eat-dog world. You got to figure it out for yourself. And the Gene Keys talks about at the shadow level, at the 28th Gene Key, it's all about feeling purposelessness. That if I don't have a purpose in life, I'm going to die. Death is imminent if I don't have a purpose. Therefore, the Republican Party, individuals in the Republican Party, they have this sense that I have to find a purpose, a business, something. I've got to find my way, and I'll be a risk taker, because this Gene Key is talking about it's a risk-taking energy. I'm going to do it. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I have to find my way because I'm running away from death itself because I have to find a purpose. Okay. And it talks about in this Gene Key that at the shadowy level, it tends to be, because this is the deepest, darkest fear of all the Gene Keys, that it tends to use its will and force and tries to use power over things a little bit more than other Gene Keys. Okay. So it's a little bit more of an aggressive power over others, and using its force, will to force something to make something happen. So that's a little bit shadowy of the Republican energetic personality. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, so the gift of the Republican Party is that out of this deepest, darkest fear of death, the Republican Party has the ability to live alongside their deepest, darkest feelings, which the Democratic Party in that Gene Key, it indicates that they don't like feeling their deepest, darkest fears. They're not into the feeling aspect. They avoid feeling the dark or living alongside the dark. They use education and togetherness to alleviate their fears. Whereas the Republican Party says, nope, I'm going to face it dead on. I'm going to live alongside of the deepest, darkest pains and ills of this world because I feel it in me. I feel the deepest, darkest fears, and I can do it. I'm a risk taker. I'm going to find purpose. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to find my individual freedom and take care of myself. Okay, so the Republican Party has a really wonderful perspective on life about living alongside your fears, living alongside all the ills and darkness of society, because they really understand when they're functioning at the gift level that life is a game everything's a stage, that we're here to meet life head on, play your individual role to to its fullest, good and evil, fine, pain and pleasure, fine, I take it all in. And they can handle adversity much lighter than the Democratic Party. And I see this very clearly. What looks like kind of lack of compassion from the Republican Party, I think, is just their ability to say, yeah, that's some pretty dark stuff, that's horrific stuff, but it's all a game, it's all a stage. We're all here to play our part, live with it. And the Dems get all wishy-washy. They don't want to look at it. It's like horrific. Everything's horrific for the Democratic Party. Okay. So I'm not beating up the Democratic Party because I'm more aligned with that fear. Let's put it that way. What else? Anyway, this fear of death really kind of at the gift level really gives them a much greater sense of individual freedom. And really, that is what the whole Republican Party is about, right? This sense of freedom. But this is where it comes from, because they are faced with the deepest, darkest of all archetypes, this fear of death. But they face it head on. And at the shadowy level, which both parties are functioning at the shadowy level, but the sage did indicate that right now, currently, the Democratic Party is much more deeply in the shadow level, that they really feel completely inadequate they have no vision and feel inadequate how to face the current challenge. Whereas right now, the Republican Party, the sage indicated, has more of the gift level working for them, that they have really taken on this individual, face the darkness, take risks, make something of yourself, find purpose in life. Capitalism doesn't mean that it's the right purpose, but they have found purpose. Okay? But they use a little bit of too much will and force, and thinking that having power and money is the way to alleviate the fear of death. Okay? So there's a comparison of how these two parties gathered together. The Democrats, fear of inadequacy, that by gathering together in community and providing resources, we can all handle this together. Their gift is the gift of being a resource, providing help for others, and that they will be the ones to most likely bring out free energy for all, because it's going to be about each person having their own resource. Okay, by working together, we can each have our own resources. Okay, and the Republican Party, formed out of this deepest, darkest fear of death, and to fight that fear, to fend off death, we have to find purpose in life. And whether that means capitalism, power, money, whatever, my individual freedoms, that's how I alleviate fear. But in the end, their gift is being able to live alongside the darkest aspects of being human, taking struggle and horrific things much more lightly, because it's all play to them, and just having more individual freedom. So there's the comparison. I hope that resonated with you, and we'll move on to the next question.